I am your host. I'm trying to do an intro here and not doing it very well. And today, as you can see, I've got a couple buddies joining me here on the live stream on a Saturday afternoon. Normally, I would save all this for the Monday night after hours live stream, but I got enough stuff to talk about Monday night, and the stuff I want to talk about here, I think, definitely warrants its own space and its own episode. So out of nowhere, like I think as I was trying to go to bed last night, I was like, yeah, you know what, maybe I should just do a live stream in the middle of the afternoon. But anyway, we are discussing the Transformers Studio Series 86 toy line from Hasbro, inspired of course by the Transformers the movie from 1986. And as you can already see on the screen, I've invited a couple of compatriots to join me on this incredible rock and roll adventure. First, I'd like to introduce the host of the Retro Cabal podcast, Dave Cabal. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Aaron. Thanks for having me, and it's great to be with you guys. I'm in good company.
Well, glad you can make it on short notice, because, like I said, I made this up as I went. And rounding out the panel is Aaron from the Autopod Decepticast. Thank you for joining us on even shorter notice. It was like, hey buddy, I'm going live in like an hour. You want to jump on and talk about some Transformers?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and definitely happy to be sharing the platform with Retro Cabal for the first time as well.
All right.
Yeah, I mean this. Well, I'm pretty sure this
great. By the way, this guy is handsome as all get out. I just want to say.
Hey, I learned from the best guys. I learned from you guys. So
I learned from watching you. Oh no. Oh man. So like I said, we're talking about the Transformers the movie Studio Series figures, and I just thought that between like all of the rumors and the leaks, and I mean I don't know about you guys, but like I don't know if there's been a line or a subline of figures that's been so eagerly anticipated but so long in it coming to fruition. I mean, I remember I was watching some of those YouTube videos of some of the leaks, and it's like there was a part of me that thought, wait a sec, I'm getting hyped for a toy from a toy line that I don't even know 100% is actually going to exist, because we saw nothing from Hasbro up until last Thursday. Yeah. We just assumed it was going to be called Studio Series 86, and we've kind of been operating under this assumption for the last several months. But yeah, Thursday we saw official releases. Official announcements, and then the official announcement panel came Friday during the Fan First Friday event. So we're finally here. The Transformers Studio Series 86 figures are coming next year, celebrating the 35th anniversary of the Transformers the movie. Wave 1, or what they called Wave 1, and I'm sure we'll unpack that later as we go through the show, but they announced a first wave of 6 figures, 3 deluxe figures, 2 Voyagers, and 1 leader class. I figured during this show I'll bring up some screenshots, and we'll kind of, because there's some nits to pick, but there's also some really cool stuff here to celebrate. I've been talking about this line for at least the last couple months. Anytime I get like a scrap of anything, I've been kind of like running to press with it. So this is a line I've been really, really looking forward to, and is really kind of like, kickstarting a lot of this contemporary collecting that I've been doing of late. But as usual, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we go through each of the individual figures, because I do want to touch on each one. I was wondering if each of you guys could kind of touch on what your thoughts about Studio Series 86 prior to the announcement, meaning like, you know, there was almost like kind of like a cloud of controversy, like, you know, apparently the Studio Series has been predominantly, well, not predominantly, specifically for the Michael Bay Bayverse characters and toys. So there's a couple things going on in the Transformers fandom, at least from like a toy collector standpoint. You know, there's G1 fatigue, and there's like some of that age range drift a bit. You know, it's getting a little partisan between like some of the younger fans and some of the older fans. And so I think this the reaction going into Studio Series 86 was a little mixed and not uncontentious. So what I thought we would do to kind of talk about it is like what we thought about what we thought this was going to be when it was first announced, maybe what some of our expectations were, and kind of lead us up to where we are now post announcement. Let's start with my dude Aaron, who like me is in that age range and hosts a podcast about the Transformers the movie. So yeah, hot takes.
So to try and take it back to where when we first heard about it, I remember being excited about it because I'm not a Bay movie toy collector at all, but not for nothing, those toys do look pretty cool, and they look like they're obviously more detailed, more articulated, and are a nice bridge between the mainline and Masterpiece. So I was pretty excited about it and thought it was a really cool move on their part. Mike, you stole my thunder on a joke that I was gonna make, that finally Hasbro's doing something for the G1 lovers in all of us. Finally, they're catering to 40-year-old men. But no, so I was super excited about that. And when the leaks started to come out, I know originally early on we had that Cyclonus, which isn't technically part of that line and is part of the Kingdom line, but it looked really, I mean, it looked exactly like what I would expect of that sort of middle ground between Masterpiece and mainline. Yeah. And got pretty excited. I think we saw that Scourge next, maybe, and that looked great as well. And I have to say, personally, I started to lose my enthusiasm a little bit when I started seeing the hot rods and the cups of the world come out, because particularly the cup, because the face mold is a little wonky, and it looked like there was just a little bit too much of sort of the mainline simplicity and toyish quality of it, like kid toyish quality. But that said, I still think it's a cool line. I'm going to be in for as much of it as I can get my hands on. I missed all the proper pre-orders, but I am excited for it. I think it looks good. It's a great idea. And part of me wonders, I'll kick it back to you guys, if something like this would have come along a lot sooner, do you think that the third party scene would have bubbled up in the same way that it did? Because I feel like the main reason the third party scene exists is because there was this gap in these characters and in this aesthetic that a lot of people wanted. There's this huge market for that Hasbro just wasn't, touching on precisely. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Dave, you want to jump on that?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, I just want. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I was like really excited because I'm a 90s kid. I completely missed the 80s, and I didn't have a chance to actually get these figures, the G1 figures. And the easiest way for me to catch up was through like the classics, and when that Hot Rod came out, I was like, all right, trying to collect all the 86 casts through that line. But then I realized, like, oh man, they're doing stuff from IDW, so this is not this is not like the 86 movie Springer, 86 movie Blur. You know, remember that box set? They had that platinum box set, but it was IDW. So it was like, I'm still not comfortable with this. And then they came out with Titan's Return. And so I was like, oh, these are great too, but they're not like, Blur was never a headmaster. So I was very just like, okay, I'm like, and I had those figures, but I actually sold them because I just didn't feel like I was just waiting for a proper G1, you know, Blur Cup Hot Rod. They're not headmasters, but they are just regular deluxe Autobots. And that's like, this whole line has just been like pretty much like an answered prayer to this this desperate fan that I was done with I'm thankful for Titan's Return, Power of the Primes for what it was, but I'm glad that we're finally getting like the actual figures.
Yeah. And I echo both of your points in that for me, as somebody that hasn't really been a hardcore mainline collector, in fact, arguably not even really a Transformers collector, like, you know, it's well documented that my kind of main collection has been alternators for the last couple years, going back and picking those up. But as I've become more involved with the fandom and with other fans and seeing what these contemporary toys can do and what they're all about. Yeah, it's like, you know, I've seen mainline in the stores. You know, it's like, you know, all the Prime Wars trilogy stuff, you know, Combiner Wars, Titan's Return, whatever the third one was. And it's just like, well, it's fine, but I never really saw anything to make me get super excited to like, hey man, I'm just going to start buying these toys again. But I've always had that nostalgia for obviously the movie characters, and really kind of like the whole aesthetic involving the movie. I would say that I'm more of a Transformers the movie fan than I am a Transformers fan. If that kind of makes sense. I mean, if I had to distill it down, and I was just going through like, you know, like some of the posters that I've recently framed and various things, it's very much focused on the movie and everything surrounding that. So the thing that I have always said is like, wouldn't it be cool if they did a line of figures that was specifically Transformers the movie? Now, Dave, you had mentioned a couple box sets there, and I'll throw up some pictures of that shortly because I want to talk about that. I actually saw that Platinum Series box set at a TFCon. I picked it up and I flipped it up. I'm like, does that Ultra Magnus have a Minimus Animus in it? And I'm like, I don't need this. These aren't movie characters. I mean, but right. I almost bought it because it's a big box set and it's got the poster on there. I was like, but I always kind of held out hope to where, like, you know, what if I got the toys that I kind of dreamed about back in 1986? Because really, the movie characters were mainline. I mean, there was no, there wasn't really like a specific call out to say, you know, Transformers the movie. Whereas like, you know, Star Wars had like, you know, The Empire Strikes Back or The Return of the Jedi or whatever. So I always wanted that specific call out, and I never thought I would get it. Because it's like Transformers the movie. I mean, okay, boomer, you know, let's get you to bed, grandpa. And it wasn't until I got more involved with the fandom that I realized that apparently more people than me like the movie. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there was a I was the only person who liked Transformers the movie, and that whole notion just seems insane as we're talking in October of 2020. But that's where I was. So anyway, you know, I remember hearing these rumbling rumors that there would be some kind of incorporation of the movie characters into a studio series. And prior to that, already heard that some of the movie characters were going to make their way into the War for Cybertron series. Like, you know, I'm still blown away that we live in a time where we have an official Quintesson Judge figure.
Yeah.
And as if that isn't crazy enough, I mean, because I mean, we've had tons of Sharkticons for years, but like, I mean, we got ourselves an Alicon.
Yeah.
And it looks like he stepped right out of the movie. So I think for me, that was kind of like the beginning of, you know, what this could be. And I remember talking to Ant from TFU.info, Transformers University, shortly after New York Comic-Con. And he had seen some of these more movie inspired figures. And there's Aaron, he came back. But anyway, it was just something to where it's like, can you believe that we're getting these characters in mainline? And so, yeah, I mean, I just kind of held out this pipe dream. And, you know, once the rumors started, I started letting my imagination kind of get a hold of me a bit. And I think the stuff that we've seen now that's officially announced pretty much fits into what I had got around to imagining. They say the Transformers the movie on them. You know, they're individually numbered. Well, I mean, they're all numbered 86, which that cracks me up too, because I might be getting ahead of myself in being kind of like the partisan divide between fans, because one of the things that the studio series collectors were like is like, well, you know, again, keep your rotten G1 out of my Bayverse line. But I really like what they did in that, like, they numbered them all 86 and then give them sub numbers to where those collectors can just skip them if they don't want them. And likewise, somebody like me specifically, who has politely zero interest in anything having to do with studio series, I don't have to be stressed about having like weird mismatched numbers that don't fit. Like for example, I've got a couple Star Wars Black Series figures, and those are all numbered. So, and they're all just weird orphan numbers that will never match up to anything. You know, the couple G.I. Joe figures I have are labeled. So, you know, so I've got some, you know, orphans. But now with the studio series, I can grab all of them and they'll look really cool on a shelf all together.
I was gonna say, Mike, it is nice to be able to start with a collection and be able to get in from the beginning and know that it's also not going to be overwhelming. Like if you're a mainline collector and you have to have all the main lines and exclusives and whatever, that can be overwhelming. To even keep track of this is a little bit overwhelming, but it's not as bad as the main line. And you're going to have a certain set of figures. There probably will be an end to it, and you can just get it from the beginning and have a nice, tidy collection. Yeah,
and it's cool. I think it's cool. Just wanted to add really quick. I think it's cool too that the package also comes with like dioramas. Like you don't get that from like the other mainline stuff. So I think that's really cool. And I wanted to add that, like Aaron mentioned Cyclonus coming in the Kingdom line. Mike, I kind of agree with you that, like, man, Cyclonus and Galvatron, they need to get out of that Kingdom line and come into the 86 Studios series line so we can get dioramas for those characters too. So and RC, as well as RC and I don't know, whoever else, like we need to get those nice dioramas.
Well, and it's interesting, and this is something that's still actually really weighing on my mind, in that so they've announced these studio series figures. We know what the character mix is, and we know that there are gaps because now that the other characters are part of the main line. So even going back to Siege, you have a mostly movie looking Springer in there. You know, you take off all that dumb battle damage that nobody likes.
Please.
And suddenly that's. I was just looking at him. I was in a Ross Dress for Less the other day, and he was sitting on the shelf. I picked him up, and that Springer looks pretty close to being a movie Springer. Likewise, you have RC in Earthrise, and then you have the Quintessons that I mentioned. You know, you have the Quintesson Judge and the Alicon, and I don't think there's a Sharkticon in the current main line, but
the Sharkticon was in a Titan's Return. That was there. I really quickly I want to add about Springer. That Springer, like, he's great for what he is. Yeah. I would say though that color is a little too highlight green for me. Okay. And I hope they do a repack with him and RC together. And I was joking on Twitter, they should make the diorama for Springer RC with the dead wind charger and wheelchair.
Oh man. Rough. Non-transforming like the wheelie.
Like, come on, RC. We gotta, Megatron's is making his push, and we gotta push back, And she's like, taking her, doing her thing and paying respects to.
She's very sad.
But yeah, they need to color him because I know the '86 movie Springer. I'm a Springer guy, so like he needs to be a little bit more darker, kind of to get into that movie color. But anyways, just wanted to add that.
Did that Springer have some of the crusty battle damage as well?
It's rotten with it. It's not just like on the legs.
Darker, you're good to go.
Yeah. Exactly. And, and even looking further ahead, we already mentioned it, but you've got Cyclonus that's in Kingdom, and we know we're getting at least one Galvatron, probably two Galvatrons, because I think one of them's going to be like a Generation Selects in more toy colors.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be very gray. But yeah, so for me, I find myself in this really weird precipice as a collector, because with the Studio Series, it's very self-contained. I could just get the 6 figures from Wave 1 and and be totally happy with that. But then I also know that there's a Cyclonus that should go with Scourge, and and the other characters as well. So this is breaking news right here on the live stream. I actually pre-ordered Cyclonus when he was available, and now that I've ordered like a half dozen more figures and a couple Boba Fett's also, I did some soul searching, and I think I've made a decision. I canceled my Cyclonus because because
Boba Fett.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, it's Boba Fett. Come on, yeah. Where? It's a guy with a stick. But I landed on this, and it's a thread that I was afraid to pull on, because it didn't sit right with me that Cyclonus was in Kingdom. He's a great looking figure, and it's as good of a Cyclonus figure as you're gonna get. I mean, he's not a Titan's Return headmaster, and there's almost no kibble on it, unlike Scourge. But it is a sharp looking Cyclonus, and he represents the movie aesthetic. He represents the season 3 aesthetic. He doesn't look like IDW Cyclonus, which I love that version of the character, but I'm glad that again there's a Cyclonus for the old people also, which I kind of appreciate. But I started thinking about it this way. It's like, well, if I get Cyclonus, then I've got to get Galvatron, and then I don't have the while I do have the Quintesson Pit of Judgment set, it still kind of irks me that it says War for Cybertron on it. Now I love
that it says Transformers the movie on it as well.
Exactly. And really, in a sense, for me, one could almost argue that that's kind of the start of all this nonsense also, because now I've got something that says Transformers the movie, which, as I said, is something that I've always wanted and have never had. But then it's like, so do I go back and get the Alicon, because the one that's in the Pit of Judgment set is it's the bailiff.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a totally different head sculpt, different accessories, different deco. And then I came to realize it's like, I can't be doing all of that. And really what it came to is, you know, do I get that Earthrise RC? Do I get that Siege Springer? Suddenly my movie set is becoming a mix of movie studio series and mainline stuff. And really it's the OCD of having mismatched boxes. Whereas with studio series, they all match and they're all sharp. So
I would totally agree, Mike. And it's, I will say that I'm doing that right now currently. But I mean, like I said, as soon as a 86 movie studio series Springer comes up, I am getting rid of that Siege Springer, maybe possibly just transforming him into like vehicle mode. But yeah, man, I'm right there with you, Mike, because I mean, just look at how beautifully they portrayed the 86 Studio Series stuff. And like, can we also get that for the Alicon? Can we also get that for Springer and RC and Cyclonus and Galvatron? Like it, and you know, it's not fair. And it's just like, you know, what are you guys doing? You know, I'm right there with you, Mike. And I hope they address that. And I hope that they repack those figures with some more dioramas, because that's what we're expecting now with what they showed. So, you know, and it's we need them to be consistent with their releases and their figure placements and stuff like that.
Yeah, and while I got you, since we talked about it so much here, I do want to bring up that box set that you mentioned earlier, Dave. The how do I do that? Oh, we'll do one of those.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. I think that almost works. Oh no, let me try this again. See, we're just doing it live.
Awesome.
So anyway, Dave, you had tweeted this out previously, and you know, as you can see, you've got a Springer, an RC, an Ultra Magnus, Cup, and Blur, which I think is a really good mix of characters. But again, aside from that RC, none of these fit the movie aesthetic.
Right.
So now that we have a proper Blur and Cup,
yes,
I think you can take RC, Siege, Ultra Magnus, and just do repaints of them, because I think structurally the figures are okay, but again, I mean, there's literally again a minimus ambus right there. So I mean, clearly that doesn't belong in a movie series. But what I was going to say before we moved off of this is you could do repaints, but I think this would be a good way to do maybe like a cell shaded deco.
Yeah.
Like very similar to like the 35th anniversary ones. They did that Prime and Megatron for the Walmart exclusives. And I think if you throw those 5 figures in there in a cell shaded deco, I'd buy that. Yeah, and that's somebody that has a Cup and Blur already on pre-order.
Oh yeah, Mike, I'd like to add too. I think there's even a rumor that Kingdom is going to be getting like an Earth mode Ultra Magnus, because I'll say that like I had the Siege Ultra Magnus, but he still didn't scratch that itch for like a movie specific, because if I'm not mistaken, that Siege Ultra Magnus was more of like you know, the futuristic car, but like with Ultra Magnus on Earth, he was more of like that Earth mode. So man, there's another problem. We're going to be getting, you know, that, you know, I can't deal with it right now. You know, we're going to be getting that guy in Kingdom as well too.
Yeah. And
I think you bring up a good point, Mike, that definitely repack this and have, if anything, they could repack it with like the Siege or like the Kingdom Ultra Magnus rumored, and like you said, recolor it, get that Siege Springer in there, and then if they can't, since Cup and Blur are already perfect, maybe throw in a Perceptor or something, or even I don't know, like a Wreck-Gar, or I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, so that it can complete the whole thing, and maybe if you want, switch out that Minimus Ambus and throw in a exosuit Daniel or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
the scale's almost there. Yeah, you could almost retool
Yeah.
that Minimus into a Daniel. So Aaron, you've been a little quiet. What do you think about this this nonsense that we're speculating and rumoring here?
Yeah, sorry, I keep either getting kicked off the stream or kicked off the internet. But yeah, if I picked up on everything right, I overheard maybe there's going to be a Kingdom Ultra Magnus. Is that what you said,
Yes.
David?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, and I'm sorry if you guys already covered it, to what extent do you think the plan is really to reuse some of those molds for this line? Because up till now, right, it's all new molds, right? So do we think they're at some point going to get sly about it, use the same molds, do a little color change, and do the Springer thing that we were talking about, or take that Ultra Magnus Earth mode or even that Cyclonus for that matter, and do exactly that? Is that the speculation?
Yeah, if they're listening, especially if they're listening to this podcast right now, they're especially if they're gonna want to hook Mike back in, they definitely need to do that, because it's just, dude, it's not going to be complete. It's not going to be complete if they just here's select figures and then collected with the other kingdom. We want you, Mike. We want you to buy Kingdom so we can get you into Beast Wars. We want you to, Mike. We want you to buy Siege so we can get you into other. No, man. Like
it's more like, Mike, we want you to buy the Kingdom thing and then get pissed when you see we re-release it again, and then buy it again. Buy the same
Hasbro.
Mike, how would you feel though if you're not going to buy that Cyclonus, and they never release it in the 86 Studio Series, and they just never do what we're talking about, and do we never see a Cyclonus? I mean, it's just not probable they're going to create a whole new mold for that Studio Series, right?
No, and same thing with.
But you're banking on the repackage re-release.
I'm not banking on it. I guess I'm just kind of like trying to draw a line because like I said, like if I buy Cyclonus, currently I don't have anything else that's from mainline. Like I have a Siege Soundwave, but that's not for like movie collection. That's just because I like the Cassette Man, even though he's a spaceship in that one. But
Mike,
anyway.
if worst comes to worst, if anything, you might have to get him on like other markets like eBay without the package. And if it's just a loose Cyclonus without the the package,
That's funny. If I see like a loose Kingdom Cyclonus like on a dealer table or something, and don't have to worry about having a mismatched box, sure. But then again, that still brings up the same legislation. I would still want to hunt down like an Alicon or this Galvatron or like an Earthrise RC or something like that. And in a sense, I don't know what to blame. I don't know if I want to blame the character mix for War for Cybertron, to where they're just like, ooh, this is a cool place to dump some of these movie characters that we've never done. Because like in a world where Studio Series 86 doesn't exist, it's super rad that we're getting Quintessons in mainline. I mean, that's pretty dope. And that Pit of Judgment set looks really sharp. And again, that was kind of like a special release. I mean, it was going to be a Comic-Con exclusive, and it became like a HasCon exclusive. So it does kind of like stand on its own, but it's still going to be kind of weird having it there with all, because I've already got a spot set where I'm going to have like all my boxes and dioramas and all that other stuff. But so it's like, Mike, I got no space for a Kingdom box.
Mike, worst comes to worst, listen. These are your toys, man. Hasbro, if you, by the way, I highly recommend, even I know Alicon is with Earthrise. I highly recommend that. I'm still waiting for mine to come in, but honestly, Mike, worst comes to worst, just throw away the package. Let's just pretend that it's all studio series. So yeah, man, I'm with you there, man. But
we're operating under the assumption he's going to pull them out of the package. Is that the case? Or I know you like the package's diorama gimmick.
Yes. So, like I said earlier, the thing that I wanted more than anything was a box, a package of some kind that said the Transformers the movie on it. So I'm getting that. Then, and I've had other folks ask me this as well, you know, for the longest time, because of the stuff I've collected, like a lot of like Star Wars figures on blister cards and things like that, I've spent the better portion of the last 20 years not opening toys, like just having them like displayed and carded and things like that. So as I've been getting back into collecting or getting into contemporary collecting, I guess, I've been opening stuff. So it's like, you know,
let them breathe.
Those Black Series Boba Fett's I've been getting, the classified Snake Eyes, you know, it's like but I like that the boxes are sturdy enough and handsome enough to where, so when I'm not fiddling around with them, I could put it in the box and set it on the shelf. And the only thing that I notice is just like that tiny slit where the Scotch tape was.
Yeah.
Now,
Mike, really quick, I just want to mention, and Aaron, I don't know if you too, the G.I. Joe classified boxes, the way they've been doing that, I mean, it'll be a crime for you to throw away those boxes because it has like that beautiful art by the artist. And like now, a lot of the stuff that Hasbro's coming out with, I used to throw away the boxes, but now I'm keeping them up, and it's just beautiful to see them lined up, and it's got the numbers on top, and it really creates this like beautiful gallery. So, man, hey Aaron, I think you should jump in on that G.I. Joe classified line with us.
Now I already missed out on the awesome Snake Eyes, so if I can't get that for a reasonable price, I'm not going to start. I'm just not going to. But they do look gorgeous. You're absolutely right. So do all of them have that ultra classy packaging? I mean, you had like kind of the special edition Snake Eyes that did, but are they doing like those little special editions with multiple characters?
The only thing that they have, like the regular series, they have like this nice, like kind of beautiful print of all the characters on the back. And then on the side, it's all just like individual characters, like done by different artists, which is completely new from what I've understood. And then there's numbers on the top. And I'll take a pic of how I got mine displayed. But it's just like a really, like I said, and you could pose the figures in front of, it's like a beautiful mural, like a mini museum of the G.I. Joe art, the package there. Yeah, man.
It's pretty
cool.
dope.
Yeah, they look beautiful. I am jealous. I kind of wanted that Snake Eyes just for that artwork, but I didn't want to get into a whole new thing, you know? But
it's a hard one. I don't because I mean, like I'm in a spot similar to that where it's like I really wanted that figure, but I can't get into that whole line. You know, like Aaron, you were sharing with me offline that, you know, you were interested in the Target exclusive Transformers. You wanted to get that runabout and that thrust, and you texted me. I'm like, yeah, no, those are super gone. Those disappeared like instantly. And
mistake right there.
I heard though that the as far as Transformers go, they're pretty good with getting restocks, because I know Siege or Earthrise, Thundercracker, and Skywarp, they were pretty hard to come by, but they were able, like that's one thing about Transformers that I really love, is that they're readily available. Like once they sell out, I think there's a second wave that comes out, but that's something that right now G.I. Joe is struggling with. Like once those are gone, it's tooth and nail, like on eBay, man. It's horrible, but Aaron, Aaron and Mike, you guys might have some luck with those Target exclusives. So
I'm gonna keep an eye out for it. I'm wondering. I mean, with those exclusives, do they show up on shelf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
because
there's that opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So like Dave was saying, like I forgot about this for a minute. You know, like the Thundercracker and Skywarp. And in fact, in like some markets, those actually like went on clearance. Like you could
Oh,
get
wow.
those at like half price in some spots.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so it's not like the Cobra Island series for GI Joe that were those Target exclusives that disappeared and are impossible to find. So, but I don't know. Anytime I hear Target exclusive, I just cringe.
Yeah.
And really, I think, and this is way off topic, but at a time where Hasbro Pulse is a thing, I don't know if I understand the point of retailer exclusives. Because they're their own retailer. That you had the PulseCon exclusive stuff, and they do have Pulse exclusives. So I don't get it. It just feels like it's another way for John Hasbro to make us crazy.
Yeah.
Mike or Dave, break down for me the Target controversy. Why would I get slapped if I talk to a GI Joe collector about Target?
Oh man, it's like, from what I understand, I guess that's GI, because they mentioned, GI Joe hasn't been on shelves for a long time, and it's really hard to get GI Joe back. So I think them partnering up with Target is like their way of trying to like just get back on the shelves again. And they have unfortunately for them, because I did try to talk to some of the people there. It's like, hey, what are you guys like? So what's going on? Are you guys gonna try to do your best to help us out with these, or is it just like too bad, you're gonna have to find it out? And the Hasbro guy said, like, yeah, it's unfortunate, like they wish they had a part in that, but it's really out of their hands. And I think they did a good job with this new release, Mike, with Zartan and then the Cobra Trooper coming out. So I think a lot of GI Joe fans said that was a step in the right direction, and that they were making that Cobra Trooper available for like the other stores, like Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon, and stuff like that. So I felt like that was like kind of like their way of saying like, hey guys, we're trying our best. It's really out of our hands. And I don't know how I could equate that to, but yeah, it's a sore subject, man. Like I personally, even as a GI Joe fan, I personally got kind of burnt out from just like, because I went to all my Targets, I got nothing. And I even saw Roadblock early, and they took it from me because like, oh, it's on street date.
Yeah,
and
the street date. Sure.
And it's not easy, and it's also not easy. Like, I'm happy for everyone getting it, but it's not easy. It's not easy for me to see everyone online. So I kind of just had to like, okay, let me step away from GI Joe community. And it's just like I'm happy that they got it, but I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm jealous. That I was jealous to see other people get it, and like it really with Aaron saying that, it was like, yeah, it really is a sore subject to bring up to GI Joe fans, but we try our best, and when stuff like that happens, when GI Joe stuff like that happens, like, oh hey, there's Transformers, let me distract myself with Transformers. You GI Joe, I'm gonna break up with you for a little bit there, because like,
we're on a break.
You know what I mean, Mike? Like it was tough, man. Like it affected me definitely, for sure.
Yeah, gotcha. And I think part of it also was it was the character choice. I mean,
yeah,
especially one Baroness, putting her with a vehicle, testing those waters. But I think the biggest sin was the Cobra Trooper, like you had said.
Oh yeah.
So you have a troop builder that is designed to be bought in large quantities, and you make it an impossible to get exclusive. And
the thing that bugs me too is when this is kind of a little pet peeve of mine, but like when I see like GI Joe fans posting, like I'm happy for them that they got, but when they post like a bunch of Cobra Troopers, they're pretty much rubbing it in your face, It's just like, but like I'm happy for them. I'm glad, but for me it's just like, okay, like this is great. I don't want to see this. It was a tough thing, but I'm glad that they made a step in the right direction, and that they're making that Cobra Trooper available in the other like not Target exclusive. So hopefully they do that as well with the new Viper that's coming out.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, if I'm not mistaken, I hope that they come up with a standard Baroness, because there's a Baroness on the back of those covers that she has like more of a purple kind of hair on the back, like a little bit of a highlight. So I'm wondering if they, you know, because like you said too about the Storm Shadow and the Word Burglar episode, like we're still waiting for that, the white clad G.I. Joe, you know, uniform Storm Shadow. So we're still waiting for that. So hopefully, you know, there will be a standard Baroness that will be available through BBTS and other stuff, and not have to do. So hopefully, I think just the same. I think G.I. Joe is just trying to really get back on the shoes with Transformers, because Transformers right now, they are a financial juggernaut for Hasbro. So like they're good. Like they're good to go. Like Target exclusives, yeah, we'll sell out, but we're ready, bro. Like we're ready. But for G.I. Joe, they are really, you know, it took us this long to get G.I. Joe, and now they're struggling to like be seen. So hopefully that they learn from that.
Absolutely. So just in time. Aaron has returned and looking a change of scenery. And I will have you know that you've missed the entire answer to the question that you asked about the.
All right, Dave. So from the top.
So you could catch that on the, on the podcast later.
I'll watch it on the replay. Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
All right. So we took a bunch of detours, a bunch of tangents, and we went all the way around the block. But something we haven't done yet, I think, before we start getting into speculation about what we want to see in Wave 2, or what we think the future of this Studio Series 86 line, I think we need to go through and actually talk about the figures that are in the line. So I'm going to do some screen sharing. One by one. Yeah, well, I mean, there's 6 of them. So so we are going to start with number 1, because they are individually numbered. We're going to start with Jazz. So
who saw that coming when this line was first announced?
Yeah, and that's you know, it's funny because it's, again, not without controversy, which we'll talk about in a quick sec. But yeah, of the quote unquote movie characters, you know, you're thinking like, you know, Hot Rod, Cup, Springer,
line.
RC. Yeah, you don't think Jazz. And so this is like, for me, it's a very bizarre character choice. But with the stuff we were talking about earlier about trying to figure out what lines to put these characters in, does this Jazz belong in Earthrise? Does he belong in Kingdom? Maybe not, because who knows what the heck Kingdom is actually going to be story wise.
My conspiracy theory is, if you don't mind, is that I think that this was a Kingdom figure, and they just wanted to try and figure out how to pad this line out a little bit, because this has none of the quality hallmarks that the other Studio Series figures have. The gappy arm wrist things.
Sure.
The fact that it's Jazz and not some other character from the movie. So I think this is a line pad. It doesn't have the extra gimmicks like a lot of the other characters do. So I'm feeling this is a cheat.
Hey, Mike and Aaron, really quickly. Hey, man. Hey, guys. I apologize. I might have to drop out, but I will tune in on the live stream. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for having me on, and apologize, Mike, that I gotta go. But
it's fine.
I will catch you on the live stream for sure. But guys, thank you so much for having me on, and hopefully we could chat more again soon.
Sure. Sounds great. Well, thank you for taking the time and
Yes,
for joining us. This was a blast. We'll see you around the way.
We'll see you, Mike and Aaron. All right.
See you, man.
All right,
now that I got my internet connection straight.
Man, I tell you, dude, this is some straight up Thunderdome stuff. It's like, you know, 2 enter and 1 leave. So it's the Mike Seibert live stream Thunderdome. 2 guests enter, 1 guest leaves. And for the longest time, it was you that was doing the leaving. But now
I know.
now you've returned. So I was going to ask him about his podcast too. Check out the Retro Cabal podcast. It's awesome. He's been doing like the daily journaling thing before, like he did last year. Just kind of talking about his experience with the Transformers brand, and it's a lot of fun. So back to Jazz here. That makes sense. I hadn't thought of it from that angle about being a line pad, but now that you bring that up, it totally makes sense, and it kind of helps assuage my perspective that it's a really weird character choice. But the thing that I would also say though is it's a pretty cool figure. And from word on the street, from what I understand, it's a huge upgrade from that Power of the Primes Jazz that, maybe, I guess mainline collectors would have to sharpshoot me here, but that was the last Jazz we got, right? Was that Power of the Primes one?
Was there not I think you're right about that. I was wondering if there was a War for Cybertron one, but I don't think there was.
No. So and really, like when John Hasbro has been doling out character choices, one of the things I've seen on Twitter has been like, well, Jazz win, and obviously, there hasn't been a Masterpiece Jazz because of licensing issues with Porsche. So, so yeah, it's kind of interesting, but I think it's a totally fine vehicle mode. With the clear windows there, you see a little bit of kibble, but that's totally fine. But it was this thing here. It was the backdrop. I was like, oh, Moonbase 1. I was like, okay. and really we discussed this earlier, but it's the dioramas that it was the thing at a time where, like, I've seen these leaks and I've been kind of living with this kind of expectation for a while. And I'm glad to see that it kind of met my expectations packaging wise. But these background inserts was something I didn't even think to dream of. And once I saw what they were, and again, seeing this Jazz in the Moonbase 1, I'm like, oh, somebody that knows a thing or two about this dumb movie put that in there. And it's so dumb because I feel like this was put in there for me. Just the backdrop makes it an instant buy for me. It's just weird how my dumb brain works.
I have to shout out to Hasbro on that. In the whole packaging as displayed diorama, just really is upping the game. I think it really adds a lot of value, and it frankly adds a lot of value that probably doesn't cost them that much more money to invest in these products. But I think the joy that comes out of it is a lot more than the investment they have to put into it. So, and the art looks great. It looks certainly reminiscent of the cartoon and the movie backgrounds, but yet kind of updated and a little stylized, but not in a way that feels off kilter at all. I think it's a great choice.
And again, getting to that packaging, you can't really, you can see it a little bit there. Again, this call out here, this, once I knew, please just say Transformers V and have it be the correct colors. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if it would have been like the red and blue silver. That's kind of the classic G1, because like on the official poster and all that type thing. So if it wasn't the right color, that'd give me something have some OCD about. But while we're here looking at the package, I do want to talk about the numbering. So it cracks me up because on one hand, it is simultaneously being inclusive of everybody. Like I said earlier, on it if they don't want it, but it's also kind of like a big fat middle finger to them also, I thought when I saw one of the leaks, I thought it was like a misprint or something like that, because in the leaks you couldn't necessarily see the smaller sub number.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And because it's a clever way of getting around that, I guess, for lack of a better word.
So I don't know much about. I don't have much history in that whole side of the packaging and the numbering. I maybe because I don't collect that Studio Series line, but I guess that's been controversial.
Well, it's only controversial from the standpoint that it's get your G1 out of my Bavers. It's like, it's Studio Series. It's just for the movies. And I kind of
but by who? Like, who said that though? The fans of the Bay movies.
I don't have the receipts. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I would argue. I would argue it's Hasbro's call, like that. But.
I would argue it's Hasbro's call to do whatever they want to do with the studio line and whatever,
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just saying that because
who's they?
Well, I didn't know. Did Hasbro come out and say Studio Series is this exclusive line dedicated to the Bay movies, or did they not ever say that? And if they did not ever say that, then there's nothing to be mad about.
Yeah,
you're just being mad for the sake of being mad, and that's irritating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're Transformers fans, though. I mean, like,
who am I kidding?
I was gonna say, I mean, like the only fans that
let me get off the soapbox here.
I mean, the only fans that are more pissy and curmudgeon-y than us are Star Wars fans. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Let's see. So I want to look at more toys.
To close out on Jazz, that head sculpt looks great.
Yes.
That head sculpt looks really great. The alt mode does look really good. And we didn't touch on that 14. Is now the time to get that over with?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do that. So let's see. So let me share.
I'll sum up what I think the controversy is.
All right.
And if you don't mind, because I think you were probably paying better attention to the live stream from Hasbro. But I'm assuming it's tied I'm assuming it's tied to the older Jazz having the secret Cybertronian MAGA language on it, and I think that was a legit, like, somebody being a douchebag.
Yeah.
And then now the number 14 is on there instead of 4, which is allegedly a white supremacist number that has something to do with. I had to Google it because I'd never heard that before. So is that the correct framing of this, and what was the explanation from Hasbro on why there's not a 4 there?
Okay, well, it's sorry, that's a weird toss the way you threw it to me, but yes, I'm
gonna let you talk about all this controversial stuff.
No, it's fine because I mean you've nailed everything. I'm just trying to figure out how to add to that. But yeah, so basically the 14 is a notorious white supremacy dog whistle signal thing that I was not aware of until Thursday when the pictures came out with Jazz with a 14 on there, and I saw several fans on Twitter. I have the receipts, but I'm not going to share them because I'm not doing that. But anyway, a couple folks had said that basically, like, it's tone deaf on Hasbro's part, that basically, Jazz has been portrayed by, African-American folks basically since 1984, and that it's just kind of a bad look. And the problem with the disparity between the official reveals on Thursday and folks having time to put those 2 and 2s together, and the live stream on Friday, which we all know was pre-recorded, is that there was no opportunity for it to be kind of like addressed formally. Mm-hmm. And the thing that you mentioned also, Aaron, was the only reason why this isn't just kind of like brushed off as, oh man, we're overreaching and we're seeing something that's not there, is because of the MAGA thing. I mean, like, so there's precedence, there's history. I don't know if 2 makes for a consistent pattern, but it's not outside of the realm of possibilities given what happened with that last Jazz figure.
So what was the official pre-recorded explanation? Why can't you have a 4 on there?
So in the official explanation, they didn't mention why they can't have a 4, but the dude kind of mumbles through. Yeah, I forget. I should have written it down, but basically as he's showing off the figure, he says, "Oh, well, as you can see, and there's 14 on the door, and there's a lot of history with that number with the character." And then they just totally move on. No explanation. So fortunately, I do know sleuths in the fandom, and I have not just one explanation, but 2. And for me at least, I find it very satisfying. So I'm gonna share my screen here. Stand by. I gotta press buttons. No, I'm not inviting guests. I'm sharing a screen. Let's bring this up here. We're gonna go to that. All right, so this is a tweet from tfu.info. So I guess this is where the 14 comes from, and Ant kind of shares the same notion that the internet shares, in that using the 14 is tone deaf. But if you take a look at this, this is the original Diaclone release of the Porsche 911, and it's numbered 14. So
is it?
That's not. It is, yeah. In release number, it's release number 14.
Okay, all right. I was looking at the door, not the box.
Oh yeah. So I don't know why it's not 4, because the Power of the Primes Jazz also has a 4 on there. So why they chose 14, I don't know. But one of the explanations is that it's the original Diaclone release number, but then also, I think we can see that. Can we see that?
I cannot yet.
No, because that's a different screen. Stop screen sharing and see. And this is what I get for adding like all these extra spokes to the wheel here and being like all extra elaborate. If I could figure out how to re-loop a mix minus into my laptop to where I could fire sound effects, I'd probably be doing that too, much to the detriment of what I'm trying to do here. So this is an old catalog from 1984, and what's interesting, if you I can't zoom on that,
but if I were to zoom, I can see it. That's number 14.
You would see that it's number 14.
So my quick hot takes on that are, those are such obscure references. For the designer to act like that is the thing that, and fans are going to get excited about, that is ridiculous. And it's a movie series line. He has a 4 on his door. Put the 4 on the door.
Put the 4 on the door.
I typically would say it takes 3 things to make a trend, but I'm just going to put it out there. Hasbro, you racist.
See, and I was hoping to get us out of that, but
the only thing they could have done to make it more of a dog whistle would be to mold his hand into an OK sign.
God damn it. See, Dave is not on the stream anymore. Wait, he's still on the chat, but it's like
anyway, okay, that's at best it's really weird. And I guess middle of the road it's tone deaf, and at worst secretly racist. All right, well, weird.
Yeah, and again, you couple that with the MAGA code, and yeah, it's not a good look. So that is the MSRP hot take. Is I agree with the folks saying that it's tone deaf. It could be entirely coincidental, but coincidences can be tone deaf as well.
There's just no reason, even if it wasn't connected to weird, controversial conspiracy theories, it's not a thing anybody wants. That's the thing.
Yeah, so I don't know if specifically the number 4 makes it like, because I saw other folks on Twitter trying to litigate, it's like, well, maybe like number 4 goes to like a specific racer, and because of like licensing, they can't figure that out. But other folks are posting, well, wait a minute, there's a Porsche Martini racing team with a 14 on it also. So that doesn't work. But
Right.
I don't have a definitive explanation. No. All I have is what I've collated from the internet and some additional evidence that came post the live stream, where, because that was the thing, as I was watching the live stream, knowing that there was some of this controversy, I think it added more questions than it answered, because he just kind of like pushed it through. He was trying to like, when somebody would say something
like he was not wanting to cover it, huh?
Yeah. Well, because I mean, they had recorded it a week earlier, allegedly. But yeah, I mean, just totally trying to rubber stamp it. It's like, oh yeah, and that's that as fans know, that's an important number or something like that. Right. It's like, oh, it's not.
Right.
It's like, just because you say something quickly and mumbling doesn't necessarily make it so.
Well, now we've got to check the history of jazz music and see if there's any classic Coltrane or Miles Davis or albums that have a 42 or 40 or 14, sorry, as a factor. I don't know where got 42. Douglas Adams.
Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, I'll try and find the innocent explanation for this, but I don't know if it exists.
Thanks.
All right, moving on.
Let's talk about Cup. So, yeah, I feel very mixed about Cup, because on one hand, he's the most movie Cup I've ever seen. Like, it's like every other release of Cup has had something wrong with it, and this one's got its issues too. But between everything else he's got going on, I mean, he's got the Energon Goody thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just one of those things where it's, again, he doesn't have to have that accessory. Mm-hmm. Somebody put that in there because it's like, oh, it's a movie line, it belongs in there. I think he looks a little too thin, a little too gaunt, especially through the face. The vehicle mode is fine because, well, it's Cup. It's kind of who cares. But
that backdrop's fantastic, though.
That backdrop, though, and again, that's where this line keeps winning. But what else? Let me see if I could get a better shot on it. I love this package art. I don't know. There's something about that expression that I just love. And it's not even like the most Cup expression around, but it's just, I don't know. I think I'm going to make that my,
it looks
my
memeable for sure.
It definitely does. It definitely does. But one thing that I don't necessarily care for, and you can see it here in the vehicle mode, but let me see if I can find one with the robot mode, is the panel lines underneath the windshield. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm sure Toy Hacks is going to come out with a Repro Labels sticker set to where you can make the window solid, maybe even have some of like his old age battle damage type of I don't know, like kind of like seaweed type of details. I've
like after rust drippings or whatever that is. Yeah,
I mean, because like after 35 years, I still can't describe what that actually is, because it looks kind of like weirdly fibrous, and it's, I mean, kind of icky if you think about it. Now, I don't think it's represented in these pictures, but I do want to mention the snap-on stay-on arms here. Both his legs and his arms pop off, and again, I just think that's a really cool feature, because it's not like they're trying to hide. It doesn't aid in the transformation at all. It's just a feature that they threw in there because that's what he does in the movie, and it's just one of those things where, like, I saw it on that goofy YouTube video, and I was like, does it really do that? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I think maybe I'm just verging on repeating myself, but it's like, that's the thing that has just blown my hair back so much about this line, is that it's got all of these details that are so specific to the movie that I have never seen represented anywhere else. And I think it's
not even in third party.
Right. And you had asked me a question earlier about if they had this type of stuff in mainline, would third party have kind of proliferated the way it was? I mean, I may be paraphrasing what you were asking.
More or less, that's it.
But I think that's where third party makes the jump from accessories and upgrade kits to doing figures, because that's my understanding of the history is like, well, these figures aren't being made, so let's make them. Now,
and I could be way off base because so much of third party caters to the masterpiece style market, and so it's just a thing though. I mean, would you need masterpiece if this existed more readily? I don't know.
And that's the thing too, because like we don't have like an official masterpiece cup, we don't have an official masterpiece jazz. I wonder if this is and figures like this are pushing the market back towards chug and kind of away from masterpiece at a time where like you have a $265 masterpiece Starscream, the third masterpiece Starscream to go with your third masterpiece Optimus Prime. I don't know. So like in a way I can understand and appreciate third party being for high-end discerning adult collectors, and it has a price point to match. I understand that. What I don't understand is Hasbro kind of wading in those waters also. It's
right.
I'm not explaining it very well, but it's kind of like this weird chicken and egg thing. And I wonder if Masterpiece is kind of becoming passé in a weird way.
Well, it's a whole different conversation to talk about where that's gone and where it is today. But I think the main thing for me as a masterpiece collector, if I'm trying to get down to the inside of why I would buy it, is because I want the best looking version of the character that exists. And it doesn't have to be the most expensive, articulated, best materials, best painted, although that obviously helps and that's what you want in a premium figure. But it just needs is it reflect what I remember from the nostalgia as a kid, right? And these figures almost do that in a way. I just wonder if Masterpiece, maybe take off the fact, does it compete with Masterpiece, or does it eliminate the need for it? But if Masterpiece didn't exist, would this satisfy me? And I feel like it probably would. And that even Cup, I agree with you on the faults of that figure, but overall, I still think it's an amazing figure, and the little surprises that they provided with it are a lot of fun and are thoughtful. And I'm still impressed with the figure. I just feel like just maybe squish that face down a little bit, and we'd be totally in the 100% satisfied. But but no, I think they're doing a great job with it, and despite any nitpicky things that we as fans are always going to have.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of nitpicks,
the one thing I'll actually, before we move on from Cup, the panel lining is I have the Masterpiece. Well, I'm sorry, the faux Masterpiece Fans Toys Cup, and it actually had the same thing. It has a chest piece with weird panel lining on the inside, but it came with an optional different version of that chest that you could pop those off and put it on, so it's more opaque and just a pure blue, more like the animation model. But still unknown why it would include that gimmick. Certainly unknown why they would do it for the Studio Series line as well.
Gotcha. So let's pick some more nits.
Okay.
Because next up is Blur. And for me, I might be in a weird minority here, but this guy's almost a turd. In that I will say that like the colors are spot on, And unlike Cup, I like that the window is it's not as obvious with the panel lining there. The vehicle mode, I think, looks again very representative of what that vehicle mode should be. But what's going on with these arms? I mean,
they're a little on the gorilla side of things for sure.
But on the other hand, and I'm just looking at this picture now, it is interesting how his arms are so gorilla-esque, but yet looking at like his legs, it's got the same tapers and curves and curvature from the Floridary design. Same thing with like the tops of his arms and kind of the rest of him. And same thing with Cup is like, I forgot to mention that while we were talking about Cup, but he's got like the rounded shoulders, the rounded biceps and thighs, you know, that again, that whole aesthetic that was introduced in the movie, that like instead of having like these blocky designs, they were more soft angles and curves and kind of more weirdly organic or biological in a way. And that's another thing that I think that this line captures very well. But yeah, those gorilla arms are kind of something else. But
I mean, overall, though, aside from that, the proportions, I want to see him standing up with just his arms straight down to really get a sense of the gorilla-ness. But other than his forearms, which it is accurate that his forearms should be jutting up behind his elbow like that. Yes. Just not so much. Like it's like twice of his arm as opposed to something that would probably be a little slimmer in that the lower profile of his forearm. But for me, it's just the face. Unfortunately, again, this is just another raunchy face sculpt. And they've done so well with the face sculpt of other figures in this line. So they have the gear. So I don't know why they gave up at this point. But
it's interesting because like I think in terms of like the leaks, you know, it's like, you know, we saw Scourge, we saw Hot Rod, we saw Cup. I don't think I even saw Blur until like the someday before Thursday, like the last round of like packaging leaks. But anyway, so I saw it way late, and yeah, it's like I'm like that face is awfully derpy, but he's got the welder for his hand.
Yeah, that's
and again, touch. I mean that again, they're just smashing it with the packaging and all that. And again, it's I like this style of art. I like the representation on the box. And again, you've got an Autobot City background. Now, this is something that I suppose with further figures, you know, maybe you could add to it. I don't know. I don't want to get too far ahead, but yeah, I mean, I like what they're doing there. That's pretty cool. Let me see, where was I at? So that was Blur was number 3. So let me find a number 4 here. I think that is Hot Rod's. Yeah, let me bring him up here because I have strong feelings about Hot Rod. I love this figure. I like love almost everything about this figure because he does everything and more that a Hot Rod figure should do. The colors are right. You know, it's kind of like I think it kind of splits the difference between the really bright magenta that's in some prints of the movie and kind of like the more orangey red that's also in some prints of the movie. I think it's just magenta enough for my taste. You know, you've got the blue window, you've got the right amount of detailing. And again, he's just, and the reason why he's, I should have mentioned that the first 3 figures that we were talking about were deluxe class. So, you know, Jazz, Cup, Blur, those are all deluxes. Hot Rod's a Voyager. Now, I think Hot Rod is Voyager class, not because he's a larger figure. He's about the same size as Jazz, maybe a little bigger, but it's because he's rotten with all these accessories. Like you got a Matrix with a blast effect. He's got a couple guns. I do like that you could put like his saw blade on top of his car for some reason. I mean, it's whatever, it's fine. But again, he's got
that Matrix shine effect is, I'm assuming that's supposed to latch onto the Matrix. Yeah.
Here you go. Very
nice.
Yeah, and I want to see if there's a picture in this. Oh, I don't think it has it. His arm flips out, and he also has a welder hand for reenacting with limbless Cup.
And it's nice that's worked into the engineering rather than just a snap-on, right?
Correct. Like the saw blade is a straight up snap-on, but the welder is in his forearm. It flips out. That's cool. But I want to talk about the visor. Because that visor is so dope. Basically, you pop his head back and you can flip the visor out and then snap his head back on. And I think that alone is, I mean, like, I don't know if the Masterpiece does that, but Aaron, you talked about the comparison with Masterpiece earlier, and there are a lot of folks that are saying that this, even at that size and scale, beats Masterpiece Hot Rod. What say you?
First answer around it, the Masterpiece does have that gimmick, although it broke on mine, sadly.
Oh,
I'll
have to be careful with mine then.
if somebody were to the biggest criticisms of that Masterpiece figure, and I'm talking not about I can't remember which number it is, the earlier one that is also a giant Rodimus Prime that's MP10 sized, but the one that's more Carbot sized, whatever number that is.
Sure.
The proportions and the chest, I think, and kind of the spindliness of the legs, just aesthetically, were the biggest issues with that figure. And yes, this thing hits the proportions, a little bit more heroic in the chest area and the way that it sculpts down into the ab and pelvis. It definitely beats that out for sure. I'd be interested to see the articulation on this and how it compares, because that Masterpiece Hot Rod is a very well articulated figure. It has a lot of great butterflies in the arms and things like that make it good. But proportion wise, this thing does look great. And this is a standout, and people talk about Masterpiece moments. It's things like that helmet flip out visor and the hidden welder that definitely elevate this in terms of its quality and the experience and the fun.
Absolutely. And the space car mode looks pretty cool too. And again, I love the packaging. I love everything about this. It is a fake chest. So you do have the faux chest.
I'd rather it look like it's supposed to look. I'm not mad at fake chests. I know some people don't care for those kind of tricks, but I'm into it.
The one, and I don't have a photo representation of it here, but the one thing, and again, Aaron, I'm slightly embarrassed when I share these silly stories like this, but when I watched that bootleg video and I watched him transform the damn thing, and
Tauntaun or what is it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tauntaun. Not to be confused with the woolly Star Wars creature. I thought they smelled bad on the outside. This is getting bad. The arms spin around.
Oh, do they? That's awesome.
They do. And that was one of those things where I swear, again, I don't get emotional about this stuff, but like if I was, it's like I had a little bit of throat clenches there. I am not going to say like I almost rolled a tear or anything like that, but it was like, oh, buddy, it does the thing. And again, I'm repeating myself a million times here, but again, it's saying like, Mike, you need to buy this because this is for you. Now, never mind the fact that you could get super nitpicky and Hot Rod's arms only spin around that one time. Never does transform the same way twice during the course of the movie. Now,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, so like I put out some kind of tweet. It's like, well, it's cool that his arms spin around, but call me back when you have a figure where you can do all 5 of the different transforms that he does throughout the movie. You can either spin his arms or you can tuck them in. You've got you've got options there.
One question: does his cockpit open up front, like kind of in that weird from the like backwardsy type way?
I don't think it does.
Okay, that's okay. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, let me.
The one thing about this is, okay, what class did you say this was?
It's a Voyager.
But yet it's the same size as the Jazz and Cup.
Right.
The thing that was kind of nice about this, I like a good hinged hand. I like the open and close ability, even if it does look a little silly. And those other figures didn't have it, and Blur did not as well. Hook us up with the hinged hand. That's what made this feel. That's just another thing that made this feel elevated and like studio series as sort of a level above the rest of the main line. And those things are lacking.
I agree, and that's one of those things where it's like, it's like, but I have my Unicron background, and I've got everything else. So
you're right.
Yeah, but again, like, unfortunately with something like this, one, there'll always be nitpicks. And I think it's okay to have nitpicks, because if everything was perfect, we'd have nothing to talk about. I think that's kind of like a weird that's kind of like a weird Mike Seibert take on things. Sometimes it's like, I kind of like sometimes things with their imperfections. It kind of gives me something to get bent about. But
we live in a world where none of us are perfect, and nothing is perfect. So we just have to, that's the market. That's being the voice of the market, talking about the things you'd like. I like to imagine the voice of the market saying about Coca-Cola, I like that beverage if the hint of prune was just a little stronger.
Just a little more pronounced. So in the chat, Alpha Magnus decided to jump in. He's like, I love saving money on these by not wanting them, LOL.
I wonder what makes him not want them.
That's a good question. Maybe kind of like trying to avoid that slippery slope, like I was discussing earlier with not getting the other movie characters in the main line. I don't know.
For me, I want everything. I just know that I have to not buy everything, and so I have to pick what means the most. But I would get even things that I don't even care about, just because I want all these stupid toys and want to check them out, get close to them, and fiddle with them.
Yeah. Dave, who joined us back in the chat, said Blur was supposed to be in Kingdom because of his gorilla arms. I thought that was worth pointing out.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about Scourge. This guy rules. I love this figure. What do you think?
The sculpt looks amazing. It's got to be the best
I think
mainline sculpt, right? I mean, it looks good. The face sculpt in particular, I'm a fan of.
Mm-hmm. And again, you got that sick box art there. I
hadn't seen that box art. That is awesome. Oh,
that's sick. I'm
excited for that.
It's funny, you got a couple Insecticons back there, but you don't got a Thundercracker. I think John Hasbro is just kind of trying to keep the controversy going. I heard somebody, I didn't hear, I saw it. Somebody popped off in a tweet and said that's why Cyclonus isn't in Studio Series, because they would have the same backdrop.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I tossed that a polite chuckle. So he's got his space hovercraft mode. When I was watching the live stream, I mistakenly thought that his head actually pops up, and it kind of doesn't. It's just a panel that flops over. But that's not a deal breaker. I'm not going to kick it out of bed, because I can still flip that panel back and see his face there.
Right.
They didn't have to design it that way. They didn't have to engineer it that way. They made it that way. So again, for knuckleheads like me, and again, this picture really shows off that face sculpt, and that just totally rules. But yeah, I'm with you.
The hands sculpt wise as well, particularly I guess it would be his left arm, right, if we're facing him, and just how it's open a little bit, and you've got the spread of the fingers, and it really helps see the gnarled nature of his hands, plus the cute little pink finger or pink paint on his fingertips.
Yeah, I was gonna say it shows off his Manny very well. He's showing off his gel tips there. And it's funny because like it is interesting. Like I mean he's totally I mean you look at the back of his wings there, and it's doing a lot of shell forming, I think, but I like the way that it's shaped. I don't have a picture of the actual character model in front of me, but like the way the back wings are shaped for like, kind of like his little clamshell thing, it's the same shape of what his bat wings are kind of supposed to be. So I'll allow it.
It's probably not perfect, but it doesn't irk me in the way some of the other imperfections on some of the other items do.
But yeah, but I mean, he's got the rounded shoulders, he's got the tapered legs. I mean, they've got the aesthetic pretty much nailed. Again, this figure rules, and I think it's definitely the standout. I like the hot rod as well, but once I saw better pictures of Scourge here, I was like, oh, you had my interest. Now you have my attention.
Yeah.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
That was one of the first ones that was revealed accidentally or whatever those reveals were, accidentally, purposefully, or purposefully accidentally.
Yes.
I knew seeing that early on, I was pretty excited about it. Just the sculpt, it was a little blurry, and I think somebody sharpened it up or something, and got very excited. That's a very cool looking piece for sure.
Yeah, and so our buddy James jumps in. Scourge is the only figure I want out of the 6. And if you're only going to get one, to where you 4. Can, I mean that's the thing too. So we do have one more figure we have to talk about, and I'm stoked for this guy also, and I'm stoked for some of the choices that they made. But yeah, it's the only leader class in the series in wave 1, which thank God, because I would much rather be buying $20 and $30 figures rather than a bunch of $50 figures. But here we go. It is that's Grimlock. Now it's interesting, like during the live stream, they didn't actually have in-hand samples. They only had renders. So I believe these pictures that I'm using Entertainment Earth, by the way, shout out to those guys. I think these are photos of the actual toy.
Okay.
Because like he's got like the translucent neck thing going on there, which I don't know how to feel about that, because I find myself very torn on it, because on one hand, it looks like in robot mode, he looks like cartoon Grimlock. Like he's got the red, blue, and green on his legs. He's got the right shaped chest. He's got the right shaped head. I wonder if a third party company is going to make a swappable ACOM head where it's just the melted marshmallow head.
No,
you
need.
Can keep that. No need. It's like if somebody makes that, it's like, who is this for? Why did you make this? Nobody wants it. Nobody wants a soft marshmallow head Grimlock. But this feature with the translucent neck, that's a holdover from the toy. So I don't know if I understand why that's here in this Studio Series movie figure. But you got yourself a non-transformable but posable wheelie figure. And at a time where you're getting these little bonus figures of movie characters, like in the Quintesson Pit of Judgment, you've got a non-posable Kranix, who's basically just kind of like a slug figure, but you also get the Quintesson Prosecutor. And I think I like that precedent is established, that's a way to get in additional movie characters without making you buy a deluxe. Because I mean, now granted, me personally, if it was in Studio Series and you make a deluxe a Quintesson Prosecutor, I'd buy it. But I don't need a deluxe scale wheelie.
Yeah,
so
and it harkens back a little bit to those little marshmallow-like clones that they used to put in package with some of the smaller guys and things like that. I don't think that's intentionally what they're trying to evoke there, but but you know, I just providing a little extra play and a little something extra to collect is fun.
Well, and you know, one of the biggest things that Transformers fans want to complain about more than anything, it's scale. And what's interesting though is that the wheelie figure is perfectly scaled to interact with this leader class Grimlock figure exactly as it was in the movie. I mean, he's even got his slingshot. And I think that rules. And looking at the package here, I don't think there's a really good picture of the backdrop, but I'm pretty sure that's the same backdrop that would match with the Quintesson Pit of Judgment. Because it's like you can almost see the columns there behind him. Oh well, let me just try to zoom in on this guy here. Oh yeah, see, look at that. There's
the door being knocked down that he's standing on. Interesting.
Oh man, see, now we have to have a slag figure in this line so that you can get a door and put it on your scaled Quintesson Prosecutor figure from the Pit of Judgment, so he could be like, "Excuse me." Which incidentally, I mean, you know, kind of like way off topic, but like that it kind of cracked me up though, watching that live stream, watching these children interact with and sing lines from the movie.
It made me excited to see that people that young cared about it, and people that work for the company actually care about it, and it's not just clocking in. A couple notes on this.
Sure.
I don't know if you had a picture that was the face sculpt, but they did a great job with that face sculpt. Is there anything up close?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, that
look at that.
That looks really good. They did a great job with that, and you can tell that it's going to have some interesting arm shoulder articulation as well. So that's going to be very cool. And the other thing I like about this is the legs. Actually, if you don't mind, if it's possible to zoom on down there, the way that they did the transformation to close up the legs looks like a lot of thought went into that engineering to make it as flush as possible. I mean, this is a great looking figure. I'll complain again about the hands. Like, let him open up those hands. Did you say that's a leader class?
Yeah, this is a leader class figure.
Do it. Make Grimlock do it. We're talking Studio Series, baby.
Exactly. I agree with you. And it's one of those things though. I mean, because I guess when I thought to do this live stream, I wasn't anticipating complaining as much as I have, but
something that you just can't wait for.
I mean, because that's the thing. I am legit over the moon about this stuff. Like it's so embarrassing. I was at a spot when I was at work where I was right next to my computer and I could just be like F5, F5, F5. You know, so like when 9 o'clock came around, 9 o'clock my time, noon Eastern, when the pre-orders went live, I was right there. So I got all 6 of them with no
Good for you.
problem.
Good for you.
And I was even able to grab a Jazz and a Hot Rod for our buddy Apollo. Also, she was at a spot where she wasn't able to be near a computer, and I was like, well, I'm right there. So yeah, I
need to just give you a heads up that I'm probably never going to be paying attention at the right time, and if you're there, I'll let you know to hook me up. Now that I know that this is how it works, that they make these announcements, then they're immediately on sale, then they're immediately gone.
Yeah, and that's I think that's something that's relatively new, because again, I haven't been in this game very long. Like the first thing I ordered from Pulse was that deluxe Snake Eyes, and I ordered that back in February before I moved.
Mhm.
Like it's funny that will go down in history as like the first thing that I ordered with our new address on it, and it was still like a month or so before we actually moved.
Mhm.
And then it didn't show up till August. But but anyway, yeah, no, but I've explained this to a buddy of mine at work, because we've talked about like new hobbies that have emerged during the pandemic and the COVID quarantines. Like my dude tried to get into like those Star Wars retro figures, and he was like a year late. They were like Target exclusives and disappeared instantly, like a year ago. He's like, well, where can I find these? I was like, you got a time traveling DeLorean? and then like this year they did Empire Strikes Back retro series figures, and they were Walmart exclusives, and he kind of ran into the same thing. And I'm like, dude, you got to be on those pre-orders. You got to pay attention. He's like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I think because of like the coaching that I've been giving my buddy, that's accidentally made me part of the scene. So now I pay attention to stuff, and I'll send him emails occasionally.
Mhm.
And I found myself kind of like signaling my other friends like, hey, if you want that Pit of Judgment, this is the time that you need to be on there. And so I was glad you were able to.
You and Toby both hooked me up there, because and what's funny is we were even texting about it the day before, and it just flipped my mind. I get to doing other things, and then it started popping up in the chat that it was happening, and I managed to get in there and get one of those, thank goodness. And I think it's shipping next week, so hopefully nice. Alpha Magnus is as well. But I mean, my experience, that's just not been my experience to have to get ready to pull the trigger on these. I mean, it's been like concert tickets and things like that. I've had to do that, but not figures yet. And even in the third party and masterpiece market, generally an email will go out from whatever your vendor of choice is that you're on their mailing list that says, hey, pre-order is now up, and you can get up there, no problem. Now that dynamic has changed, because everything that Fans Toys puts out is snatched up pretty quickly for the most part, and even pre-orders disappear. So you don't have the couple days a week and to snag it anymore. So I just need to get into that mindset if I'm going to get into this Studio Series game, I guess.
Well, and I wonder if the mindset has just changed over the last several months. Like how much has the Rona influenced this whole thing? I don't have enough information to speak to that, but it just it feels like it's more cutthroat and more like, well, you got to get in right away, because like even after I bought pre-ordered the Studio Series figures, since I was still working, I would occasionally go back to the Pulse and just see what was sold out. And like, I would say within 3-4 hours, all of the Studio Series were gone except for Blur.
Yeah.
So
poor Blur.
I know. And it's so funny because I was interacting with somebody on Twitter. He's like, that's the one I'm interested in. I'm like, oh, friend, fine. Look behind. Oh, no.
Blur. And I think it's everything you just said, on top of the fact that it is a collectible, it's a new series of collectibles. There is probably a really big demand for an 86 movie line of stuff. And I feel like there's been I don't want to say hype, because technically we all just found out about this on Thursday or Friday, right?
Right,
but
right.
It's been bubbling in the scene for months, it feels like.
Yeah.
And people were ready to see these full reveals and see what Hasbro wanted to say about it. So I don't know, like a grassroots hype, if you will. So, I get it, and good for them that they're doing something that's making the fandom excited. And I mean, as a person that doesn't really collect these lines, it has me excited, and of course I'm going to gripe about the things I'm going to gripe about, but it still looks cool, and I'm still going to get in on it to the extent that I can. Now, will I ever get that runabout? I don't know. That's a whole other deal.
Well, and then you'll have an orphaned run amok. So then you'll just have my legislation of like, I'll have a Scourge with no Cyclonus.
You can still pre-order run amoks, so maybe I need to get 2 of those bad boys and be prepared to paint them or something.
Paint it black.
Yeah.
be like the Rolling Stones and paint it
Exactly.
black.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we get out of here, I want to throw on our get into our crystal ball and the speculation game.
Oh, fun.
This was announced as quote unquote wave 1 of Studio Series 86. So that tells me that there's the potential for further waves. Now, the one thing I didn't grab for this particular example, and maybe while we're chatting amongst ourselves, I'll look for it. There was a leaked retail listing that like had like Slag with Daniel and like some other figures, some of which have come to be like, Cup and Blur and Jazz. Jazz was the one where it's like Studio Series 86 Jazz. I don't think so. And sure enough, it came to be, but I don't know how many other figures are on that original leaked retail list from 5-6 months ago that aren't part of this 6-figure wave 1. So putting that aside, maybe somebody can sharpshoot me in the chat. Now that we have this particular mix of 6 characters in wave 1 and compounding that with the legislation we had at the beginning of the show when we were talking about like it's bizarre that Cyclonus is in Kingdom, the Quintessons are in Earthrise, without rehashing all of that, I guess, where do we think Studio Series 86 can go from here? What do you want to see?
Let's see. So who have you not hit from the introductory lineup?
Well,
is that basically everybody, including what we know is being launched in Kingdom?
Let me start with some visual aids here. So,
perfect.
Oh no, you got visual aids. You might want to get that checked out. So on the poster, and I was kind of a weirdo that said it's like, if we're doing Studio Series 86, just give me the characters on the poster. Now, that's not very sustainable because that's less than a dozen characters. So you've got Wheelie, you got Springer, you got RC, you got Ultra Magnus, Cup, Blur, Rodimus Prime, not Hot Rod, which I keep forgetting about that. Galvatron, Scourge, and Cyclonus. Ooh, you could do the Revenge there in some way. I just now thought of that. And of course, and I don't know how I've neglected to mention this, but we do have Haslab Unicron coming out. That is kind of like part of the line. So it's going to have War for Cybertron on it, very similar to the Quintesson Pit of Judgment. So this whole line is horribly mismatched anyway. So I don't know how to reconcile that, but I just thought of that looking at the poster. So we're getting so you have Cyclonus, who's in Kingdom, Scourge, who's in Studio Series, Galvatron, who's in Kingdom, Wheelie, who's packed in with Leader Class Grimlock. Springer was in Siege, so he's already had a very recent update. RC is in Earthrise. Again, very recent update. Ultra Magnus was in Siege, and he's also getting a quote unquote Earth mode in Kingdom, and that's there's a poster of Kingdom art that includes kind of like that Earth mode Ultra Magnus. So I think so I think.
Do you think it'll be a slight remold of the War for Cybertron one? Is that the speculation?
I think it's going to be retooled. I hope he's smoother, but I mean, you can't do like a new mold of Ultra Magnus this soon, right? I mean, I don't know how this stuff works, because like at a time where, you know, this is the first jazz we've gotten since Power of the Primes. So anyway,
I think people were surprised to even see the War for Cybertron one come out so soon after the, what was it, Titan's Return line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, if they're not going to do, well, I'm just going to assume they're going to do a recolor game with all those figures that you just mentioned, and maybe a new Rodimus Prime remold out of the game.
There it is.
And then, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because like of the characters that are on the poster, the only character we have not talked about is Rodimus Prime. And the last Rodimus we got was either Power of the Primes or Titan's Return. I don't know which, but from what I understand, like my dude Nick was on the chat a couple weeks ago. Basically that's a really cool Hot Rod figure that looks almost as good as the studio series, but he's got like this clunky ass Rodimus mech suit where it's just basically snap-on parts. Like I think like the trailer like cracks apart, and it's really kind of like Ultra Magnus type of thing where it's like Rodimus armor. And
I've got it if anybody wants to buy it from me. I don't need it. It doesn't bring me joy.
I was going to say maybe I need to pump the disparage brakes, because like from what I brought up during the live stream, I'm like, oh, this figure doesn't look good. I don't like that.
It wouldn't be that there has a lot going for it. It's got a great head sculpt, but just the wonky shoulders where the Hot Rod's legs are its shoulders. It doesn't look good, but yeah, a great opportunity for a Rodimus Prime, which I'd also love to see in a new one of those in a masterpiece, if anybody cares about that. But I also, just some other fun things that would be pretty cool would be a Kranix and an Arbalest, and also a Retgar, maybe a set of Junkions. I'm trying to think of some other iconic. A Revenge, like you said, would be a cool piece to add to it. and maybe a blaster. Maybe we get a blaster out of this baby.
Yeah, see, I'm cool with having like a blaster, Perceptor, blaster's tapes. And because I mean, you think about it from what is iconic from the movie. And that scene where Blaster reveals that he has tapes too, that's I mean, that's kind of up there in like one of those, you know, top tier moments of the movie. But I wanted to pause here for just a quick sec, because I did do a little bit of snooping around, and I did find I think this is on TFW from like back in July. So let's see, Studio Series Jolt. So apparently there's like a Gnaw, a Deluxe Cup, Jazz, Blur. Yeah, see, this isn't a complete list. Yeah, because I thought there was more, because I don't see the slag with Daniel on there. So, but anyway, yeah. So I think a deluxe scale Sharkticon would be great. Do several Junkions. I think that would be cool, because like you Aaron, you just recently showed off your those third-party Junkions that you got. Those are some cool dudes.
Yeah.
So to see any Junkion character that's not Retgar, I think that would be really cool. Arbalest, Kranix,
and if they want to get slick with it in a way that'll make them some money and not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Uh-oh.
Oh no! Oh no!
I can hear you now. You're just frozen on my screen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Go ahead with what you were saying, and I've got to follow up.
But yeah, more Sharkies. But yeah, so Dave made a crack about it earlier, and at a time where you have the alternate universe, dead Optimus Prime, yeah, why not have a dead wheel Jack?
Yeah.
And too, and I remember Dave and I litigated this somewhere separately. Maybe it was during a podcast. I don't remember, but like, do you need any of the shuttle guys? Like, do you need a Prowl, Ironhide, Ratchet, Brawn? I don't know.
Not particularly. I don't
and same thing with the bad guys. And that's the thing that I think we haven't really discussed here is, do you need a Prime? Do you need a Megatron? I don't know. I think at a time where we've already seen the Earthrise mold used for dead Optimus, and he's got kind of like the movie battle damage on him. I don't know what else you can do. And
so that's the problem with introducing Jazz into this line.
Yeah.
It's like, it's supposed, you call it the 86 line, you call it the movie line. It just is cleaner to stick to that new lineup of characters, because you're right, you could go on forever, and you could have a Shockwave briefly flying over Autobot City, and then he's back on Cybertron and gets crushed by Unicron. But
because he's in the movie, just like Jazz.
I really wish they had just thematically dedicated it to that 86 lineup. It's just cleaner. I think it makes the collection feel a little bit more well thought out. But for what it's worth, I don't think we'll see a Megatron, because I don't know do a Megatron that doesn't turn into a gun for a movie line. But I do like the idea of what if they explored some of those other concepts and characters that maybe we never saw toys for, like some of those other kind of B-list Quintessons, like the Junkions, like Kranix, Arbalest, that kind of thing would be very sweet. I'm trying to think, are there any other characters concepts that you could go with this? What am I missing?
I'm scratching my, I think the other characters we would be talking about would be just rehashes of the 84-85 line. And again, I don't need a Shockwave here, and I don't want a Soundwave here. I don't need Constructicons. Because shoot, we've already got Combiner Wars Constructicons. You don't need to do them anymore. And I think there's that potential. Our younger friends, I think that's what they're kind of alarmed about basically, like, this Studio Series 86 could just be a backdoor way of just more G1. It's just more
right
G1
the front door, honestly.
But, yeah, that's true. Because
the one extra thing I was going to say, that if you wanted to get cute, make a little money, and not put a lot of investment into it from Hasbro's perspective, throw out 3 more of the Scourges and just remold the face, and maybe one extra little like toy. I don't know what that would be, that accessory would be with those, but just have a slightly different face, and people would buy all of those things. They're going to buy multiple Scourges anyway, but why not release it with a little something different to just make it that much more exciting?
I figured out how to square the circle with the Kingdom Cyclonus. It's like you could still just do a his Armada.
Right.
Let's call him Armada and just be done with it. This is spinning off the rails because and it's interesting because
they've left it open to speculation. You know, it's not super clean in terms of who the character lineup should be from their perspective, and a lot of people that should be in this line are in other lines, and they're perfectly serviceable versions of those characters.
Yeah, so is stuff we've already basically buying everything, because like on one hand, for my collection, I can just have those 1 through 6 matching boxes and be okay. Because I've already made that choice to where it's like, I'm not getting Cyclonus, I'm not going back for Alicons, you know, whatever, because I don't want the mismatched boxes. But I don't need to do it. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm having some wonky connection issues. I apologize.
Okay, gotcha.
But
that's fine.
What I personally, if I were you, just do it, Mike. Just get those wonky boxes, slot them in the collection, or pull them out of the box, and then it doesn't have to trigger you so much whenever you see it. And in fact, you've got these displays. You can put them in the displays with the other characters, with the backdrops, and you really flesh it out.
He's a sleeper agent for John Hasbro, I think. Are you John Hasbro? Are you trying to, next thing you know, you're going to try to push a Haslab Unicron on me? Because
he Starscream's ghosted himself into my body.
We didn't even talk about Starscream, because if you do like the movie deco one with the crown and the cape, and again,
that would be an acceptable introduction, because
that would be
iconic. Or even a death mode Starscream where he's gray and cracked and whatever. That would be pretty sweet.
That would be. I saw somebody posting on Twitter earlier. It's like leaked images of Studio Series 86 Starscream, and it's just a pile of dust. But yeah, I mean, and it's kind of interesting, because I would imagine that certain collectors are kind of over that deco and accessories, because like every masterpiece Starscream has to have a crown and a cape and all of that other stuff.
Not coming with the new one, I don't think.
I saw that. That's pretty interesting. Though he does come with the Megatron gun mode and the O face to like he looks like in the movie. I didn't piece that together until somebody put a screenshot side by side. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is the same face that he has in that dumb movie. So yeah, it would I could allow for that. I could also allow, since we have Grimlock, more Dinobots. I mean, because again, especially Slag, so that he can, you know, walk over the squished Quintesson Prosecutor there. But
and the argument I'd make for them is that they're particularly iconic to the movie, again, in a way that Jazz is not.
Yeah. And again, we've already tugged at the string too much, but I would make that same case for Blaster and Perceptor. Yeah, because they're just as in there, but yeah, not Jazz. You know, do you do a new Cliff Jumper? I mean,
right.
I mean, I think some fans would probably want a new Cliff Jumper after that Earthrise, but see, I'm throwing shade at a figure I don't even have.
I thought people liked that Earthrise. Did they not? I thought that it was a well-received figure. Am I wrong about that?
I don't think you're wrong about that. I think I'm just trying to rattle cages.
You're just being an a-hole for no reason.
just trying to be provocative just for the sake of it. I mean, like my tweets. just wading in waters that I don't understand and often find myself out of my depth. And then I just block people. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on and chat about this line of figures, but I guess I don't know. So we did all of this speculation, but is this a line? Because I don't think we really answered this. Is this a line that needs to continue? Does there need to be a wave 2 or a wave 3? Me personally, if this was the only wave that they did as something for like the 35th anniversary, I'd be fine with it. If they give me 6 more, I would gladly buy them also, because they've demonstrated with all of like the touches that we talked about, the diorama ramas and Hot Rod's backward spinning arms and Cup's detachable arms and Scourge's fingernails and all of these little things that they're getting right. Yeah, I could throw in for more, but I don't know if I need more. I guess
it feels a little incomplete to me if it were to not continue to some degree or another, for all the reasons that we've talked about 3 times over.
Yeah,
some of the you've got one Decepticon, for God's sakes. I think, and no RC either. And which I'm sure when they do ultimately do that, they'll just use that. Is it a Kingdom or Earthrise RC?
Earthrise.
I'm sure there'll be a slight repaint or something. Throw a Daniel in as an accessory. So I think there's still plenty of iconic things that are specific to the movie that they could draw from, that if they were to just quit right now, it wouldn't feel completely satisfying to me. But I get your notion. I mean, it would be nice to just have something and have it done with.
And in a sense, I don't want to be greedy, because like this is the line of figures that I always hoped for but never thought I would get. So I mean, like even like 6 months ago when we were talking about this, there was a part of me that's like, is this a thing that's really going to happen? Because it sounds like something that somebody just invented, like, oh, hey, Studio Series is going to be in the movie, and
it's had QAnon vibes.
Exactly.
It was just rumbling underneath that people were talking about, but you can't prove it.
Right. It is very puzzling that it took so long from like when the rumors started bubbling to like that official announcement.
Yeah, normally I feel like the gap between rumors and a render or something like that is usually like a month to 2 months. But this feels like it was a good 6 months, maybe. I don't know if you just had that pulled up. I don't know what that TFW posting was, but
that was from July.
Okay, well, that's not quite 6 months, but
but I don't think that was the first post either. I think that was one that had like more listings, because I remember one of the first listings was Slag with Daniel. So, and I can't find it right now. But this goes back a while, because like I remember we were recording a Transformers Reanimated. It was like the Australia one, Down Under Blunders. And I don't remember when we recorded that. That had to have been like March, April, May, something like that.
Right.
And even then, because like that was, I think that's when like, again, like the Eric Crownovers of the world were like, hey, get your G1 out of my Bayverse, and all of that. So
for them, though, what this does do for them is it opens them up to Studio Series versions of the lines that they love. So I think that's a positive thing. Perhaps we'll see some really cool Armada Prime, hopefully no car robots of coming out. Shots fired. But yeah, I think so. I think that presents an opportunity for a lot of cool things for other collectors.
Sure. Before we get out of here, you want to talk about what's going on with the APDC?
Let's see here.
He's like, no. Because you're kind of like,
why do I not like talking about myself?
It's so weird. Whereas like when the shoe is on the other foot, it's like, so hey Mike, tell me about what you got going on. And I'm like, oh yeah. So, and then I interviewed this guy and we got this going on and doing the thing, and you could follow me here and you could follow me there and you could download all my shows over here and do the live stream and it's a lot of fun. And so,
just for those who might be listening that aren't familiar with the Autopod Decepticast, my 2 partners, Ryan, Caleb, and I, we just basically crack wise about every G1 episode. We're covering every episode in production order. An episode of our show will cover a particular episode of Transformers, and we have a lot of fun with it. It's pretty entertaining. If you like to hear your favorite franchise be made fun of relentlessly, then that is great. It'll be great for you. You know, what's interesting is we got our start actually doing the movie minute by minute, and we've been doing the G1 episode thing for long enough that people are getting introduced to our podcast and don't know anything about that movie, and we're getting requests to do the movie. And it's just go back to episode 0, and I'm sure by the time we finish season 2, we'll do some kind of movie spectacular sort of event. But
you got that 35th anniversary next year. I was already thinking of some pitches to throw at you guys.
And I'll take them. I need ideas.
Yeah, maybe we should do something. I don't know.
I'm not above stealing them, but yeah. So check that out. And I think probably the coolest, interesting thing that we have going on, we did a crossover episode with More Than Meets the Pod, and I don't know if that has been published yet. I thought it was going to be published this week.
It's not, because like I listened to your last episode about the Master Builders, and I was like, ooh, you know, because you guys teased that, and I was like, oh, great. So then they released their episode, and they talk about Dinobot Island Part 2, and then whatever the episode was after that. That's it's another one that's unremarkable. No, it was the Master Builder. That's right.
Right.
So yeah, so
that's a remarkable episode by the
it is. It totally is. So wait a second. So we're peeling back the curtains here. Did you guys talk about Auto Berserk also? Like, did you talk about that with them?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No. The episode we did with them was not covering a G1 episode. It was just a straight up kind of chat. We played some fun improv games. They have a game, I'm going to blank out on what it's called, Ships from a Hat.
Yeah,
and
man.
We played that with them, and it was a lot of fun. It was like every time we'd get warmed up and really get it going, we would kind of switch games. But no, hanging out with those gals, Kit, Harper from More Than Meets the Pod, is always a lot of fun. It definitely kind of brings new energy into what they do, just because they come at it from a different perspective, and they are honestly fully ingrained in the world of Transformers in a way that I just can't be, honestly. So so that's coming out soon, and I highly recommend their podcast in general, and but particularly the one with us. It's coming out in a couple weeks or whenever it comes out. It's in the hopper.
Well, and shout out to Apollo joining us here in the chat. Favorite was the Immobilizer crossover podcast episode, where you guys recorded for like 6 hours, and both shows can't stop talking about it. Apollo, speaking of, she's been a advocate of the 3-way crossover, where it's APDC, X, MT, MTPOD, and MSRP. And I said, I'm like, I don't know if there's enough hours in the day to contain all of that, because anytime I'm on your show, that's what, double the episode length.
I'm sure there's reason to make that happen, though. I think we can work that out, maybe.
Maybe. And I've been...
she says, do it!
Make your dreams come true! But yeah, I something I want to throw out here, since we're all chatting on a live stream. So I don't know if Kit has seen the movie, but I know Harper has not. So
I don't think either of them have.
So I think when the time is right after season, because they've committed to watching everything chronologically, so it's gonna be like another year before they get through all of season 2. But I think at that point, I think that would be a good time to do something movie related.
Maybe that's I would love to do a mystery science theater live capture, even though that's a written show. But it would be kind of cool to do a live recording of them watching the movie for the first time, us with them, hearing their goofs, building on the goofs, and just having fun with it. But who knows? Yeah, that's a year. Hey, we got a year to plan, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I like how we're scheduling this for them.
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, we're just brainstorming. It's all for fun. Yeah, we could do 5 Faces of Darkness, a la Flint Dilly, but I don't know, man. A 5-part thing. I was gonna say one of the disadvantages of doing a commentary for the movie is that it's only 86 minutes. You know, we'd have to watch it like a couple times to make the juice worth the squeeze for all of us. But incidentally, that was an idea I was going to pitch to you, is like do like a some kind of like we watch the movie and comment over it or something like that.
And we'd
something that would be fun.
Probably, if we live cast it, it would probably get shut down a la DEFCON LA.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, so if you've got awesome ideas to hit us up with, hit us up on the social medias, and again, we've got a year or so to plan. And for me, as you can see, I am down to clown with pretty much anything and everything related to Transformers the movie. So it's like I was just recently on a podcast called Have Not Seen This, and the dude was blown away. He's like, "Wait, that's your favorite movie, really?" Kind of the same response Flint Tilly gave me too when he's like, "Wow."
Yeah.
He's kind of surprised there, but I am still surprised with myself that, you know, I'm going on like 3 years of like kind of more or less making like a side brand of like, hey, I'm the Transformers the movie guy. I can talk about it endlessly, and will continue to do so. I mean, as long as they keep making action figures of it and things like that, again, they're giving me more material.
Yeah,
and with the anniversary next year, it's like,
I'm always happy to assist. And I almost forgot, Mike. I can't believe, as I'm sitting here staring at your face, your just beautiful face, that our next episode that's coming out is Auto Berserk, and we had a special guest on that episode as well.
A guest that was so special you couldn't bother to tease it during Master Builder.
But I'm teasing it now. Mike Seibert from Mike Seibert Radio is on our episode that's publishing next Sunday.
That's Ryan's birthday episode also.
Right.
That was a hell of a lot of fun. I always love kicking it with you guys, and something we talked about during our recording is that's something we should make it.
What? If I'm live still, maybe I just need to carry this. Now I'm not.
Oh, that was weird. I was like, what happened?
I was about to close out your show for you.
This has never happened to me before. Oh man. All right. So I think the world is trying to. Yes, that is definitely the universe trying to tell us it is time to pack it up. So Aaron, could you let folks know where folks can connect with you all on the internets, where we can find you on the internets, and how we can connect with you on the social medias?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Autopod Decepticast. It's available on all the things that you listen to podcasts on. You can, we've got lots of bonus material that we always put up on the website, autopoddecepticast.com. You can also listen to the podcast from there if it is your choice. And Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at APodDcast. And that's the gist of it.
Rock on. Well, and before we close out and I read the closing credits, I do want to give a shout out to Dave Cabal. Check out the Retro Cabal podcast. Joining us here in the chat, we got Toby, Alpha Magnus, along with James Fisher, who occasionally does the voice work with us on the Transformers Reanimated project, which incidentally, they just put out a new issue that is also Red Alert themed.
Very timely.
funny.
I read that too. That's a fun issue. I'm kind of excited when we get around to doing the table read for that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then obviously a shout out to Shar for joining us here just as we get ready to close out. But you could go back and watch the video and listen to the podcast as well. But I think, man, that'll do it for this very special episode talking about the Transformers Studio Series 86 line and what we thought about it and what we want to see more of in the future. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to us here ramble. And if you want to listen to my podcast, Mike Seibert Radio, you can find that pretty much everywhere you find your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And you can check out the full show archive out on SoundCloud, where I have many episodes about Transformers the movie. And join me Monday night. The After Hours live stream returns starting around 8 p.m. Pacific time. That is going to be streaming exactly where you're watching now on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Like, share, rate, and review the show. Let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear more of in the future. Mike Seibert Radio is powered by Poddex, and for Mike Seibert Radio, my name is Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
You did the thing, and now I'm messing it up by not jumping on it.
By acknowledging
exactly.
it.
And until next time, wear a mask.
Make good choices.
You prick. Pistols at dawn. Bye.
That was a good episode.
Yeah. Was a good episode. All right, dude. I will see you around the way, and I'm gonna hit finish. Do you want to finish this live stream? Okay. See you, dude.
Hey, good seeing you.